And we are back today with another episode of Tech TLDR. Today, another EV market update. We're going to be talking about the three big EV automakers of China, which is Nio, Li Auto, and Xpeng. Taking a look at their past month and also the tremendous year that they've had and what I think is going to happen with them in the future, especially in the next coming month. Big things happening with them. So before we dive into this, just want to say a free way to support the channel is drop a like. And also, if this is the type of content you want more of, let me know in the comments, hit the subscribe, hit the notification bell, and let's get into this. So if you live under a rock, you would know Nio, Li Auto, and Xpeng are the leading EV automakers in China and posed to hopefully, for their sake, dominate the EV market space in the whole world if they can't beat Tesla at it. Now, the Chinese government has made it very clear that they want to be the leading EV automaker in the entire world, really. They want to dominate the entire market. They've made great strides to do this. They've invested heavily into these companies, especially Nio. I believe this year alone, they've given about $1 billion to Nio in state-backed funding and loans to make sure that they stayed afloat during tough times. Now, Tesla, on the other hand, they don't have these types of, I wouldn't say handouts, I'd say support, but Tesla still has absolutely dominated the EV market. Now that they're in China, they're in Shanghai. These three companies have a ton of pressure, but they've still done tremendously well. So Tesla, if you don't know, they've actually done, according to this article, according to their sales, 5 times more car sales worldwide than those three EV automakers combined. Absolutely insane. Tesla did just, I think, 450 short of 500,000 this year. So big year for Tesla. About a year ago or two, they were about to file bankruptcy, and now they're the leading EV automaker on the entire planet. Really nice to see, especially considering everybody wants a Tesla. Most beautiful vehicle you can own right now. Nio, I've gotten a little bit of hate in the past because I kind of criticized Nio and their stock. Now, again, this channel, just to reiterate, this channel is not meant as stock advice. You should not be taking my advice as the stocks to pick. It's simply the news about these companies, their technology that's coming out. And of course, I do focus on the stock and business side of it because that is super relevant to any startup, any company. You can have the most amazing product and great technology, but if no one's buying your product, if your bottom line isn't there, then it doesn't matter. So again, this is simply information on what they're doing. Don't take this as stock advice. Now, Nio more than doubled than a year ago in their sales, over 43,000 sales this year alone. And actually in December, topping 7,000 units, they've continued to climb for 5 straight months. Now, I know from researching, Nio stock has, they haven't hit like an actual speed bump yet. They're up over 1,000% this year. If you invested at the beginning of the year, you're, I wouldn't say a rich person at all, but you're having a good time. You're very happy with the results that Nio has given you. And to be honest, it might continue because people just keep pumping and pumping and pumping this stock up. Again, I'm not a stock advice guy. I'm not a fortune teller. Do your own research, but you never know. Also, this Saturday, they're going to possibly be revealing their first sedan on Nio Day, January 9th. Something to look out for. Now, Li Auto, I don't follow too much. Their technology really just doesn't do it for me. It doesn't impress me, but nevertheless, they're very relevant. They've done over 32,000 card sales this year, so they're definitely up there in terms of these newer company sales. Now, they reached a record this month, or past month, of December, of over 6,100 sales, and their stock is up over 150% since their IPO in July. Li Auto, again, I personally don't care much for this company. The thing about Nio is they're kind of like the Tesla of China. They have a ton of backing, so people really gravitate towards that company. And the other company, Xpeng, personally, I gravitate towards this company. Reason being is I just love the aesthetic of their vehicle. Now, Xpeng, they announced they did over 27,000 vehicles this year, more than doubling from a year ago as well. And they've done about 5,700 sales in December for their second straight month of gains. They're up over 185% since their IPO in August. So these three companies have absolutely blown it out of the water, and they're showing tremendous growth. And I think that will most likely continue. I think the only reason they weren't this large before is because of the all the lockdowns and everything like that, a lot of jobs security was questioned. Now, Asia, as far as I know, I don't live in Asia, I haven't been there, but I'm pretty sure they've pretty much recovered from this whole thing, and they don't have the restrictions and everything like we have still in the US. So their economy is starting to ramp right back up. And considering that these Chinese automakers are selling in China, it makes sense that their sales are going to continue to grow as long as their product stays just as good. Now, also, it's also important to note that they want to break into the European market. I don't know how Europe's doing in terms of their economy, but I do know that Europe is a big proponent of electric vehicles. I've personally been to Europe, multiple countries. They don't care for the same types of vehicles that we do in the US. I think it's harder for the US to adopt to electric vehicles because if you look at any of our vehicles compared to Europe, Europe favors small, efficient vehicles. US favors trucks and SUVs. So until an automaker does that, or people just adapt to more or less Tesla, it's going to be hard for the US to be an EV space. But I think with these three companies breaking into the European market as well, they're going to have tremendous growth in the next, not just year, but a few years to come. Probably eventually they'll have a plateau, like any company does. Exponential growth isn't forever, but it's going to put them in a huge position. US, we don't have any automakers in the EV space besides Tesla that can actually dominate or actually keep up with these companies once they get to that spot. Ford has their new Mustang, apparently is electric. I did a video about that recently, and it's absolutely terrible in my opinion. Not that it's a bad piece of equipment or technology, but it's when you buy a Mustang, you don't buy an electric sedan. You buy a Mustang because it's a muscle car, and if that's Ford's best attempt at an electric vehicle, the US has very, very grim days ahead of them in the automaking space. Hopefully Tesla can pretty much keep the US afloat. Obviously they're dominating as it is, but with these companies coming up like this and moving into the European market, it's going to be hard to see that. Nevertheless, though, it is really interesting to see that. And like I've talked about in previous episodes, also with the plug power, with other companies like that, really pushing in these Chinese, not only Asian markets, Chinese markets, but also in Europe as well, it's going to be so much easier for these companies to deliver a vehicle into those countries because there's systems in place to allow the users, the everyday person that's driving this vehicle, to charge their vehicle, to maintain the vehicle, to swap batteries. The battery's about 30 to 50% of the vehicle's value. So with these systems getting in place more and more, whereas the US isn't doing as much, that Asia is really posed, China specifically is posed to dominate this market. And I think these three companies, Nio, Li Auto, and Xpeng, hopefully Xpeng, I love Xpeng, is gonna continue to grow. And maybe one day we'll see a good amount of these on the US roads. Wouldn't doubt it considering Ford's got the electric Mustang. We'll see. As I said before, free way to support the channel. Drop a like. Let me know what you think in the comments. Hit a subscribe. Thank you.